Here we go!
Welcome to the Nintendo Power Zone. We are a video / podcast dedicated to bringing you the best Nintendo-related topics. As always, I'm your host, Nice One, and today I'm joined by the full panel of co-hosts. We have Jaden, who's back from his sabbatical, and before we go any further, congratulations, man. You got married.
Oh yeah, that happened all the way back in October, but it takes a while to settle down. I didn't even have money or time to go on a honeymoon, and it's crazy. You move in, all of a sudden there's two people sharing the same space, trying to organize stuff, and yeah, it's a ride. It's very different, but also very the same. It's a really weird thing. But yeah, no thanks.
No problem, man. Yeah, definitely congratulations. Like, it's good news. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining the show, he got married. Send his congratulations. But we also have series host, co-host regular, the King Blues on deck. What's going on, man?
My head is like really chilly. I got like a haircut. The pre-prediction show, I got the beard shaved, but now I just got all my hair shaved, and I'm kind of chilly. Other than that, I'm really good.
It almost looks like you went like full on mohawk over there.
Basically, that's kind of what happened.
You see, you get to my age, and it starts to thin really badly. So like every year it gets shorter and shorter, and I'm like, man, I used to have like this full head of slick back Bruce Wayne style hair. I can't pull it off anymore. All that hair gel, I'm pretty sure that's what caused the thinning of my hair, but it is.
I never use gel. Gel like product. The only thing I use is like a little bit of boost powder. That's like it.
If I don't put product in my hair, it's a giant fro. Like no lie, it just big poofy fro. I look like I came out in 1972.
Man, it's too bad we're not in the 70s because
I know
you'd be rocking it.
Well, my dad was
big ass like lapels and the platform shoes.
No. If you look at pictures of my dad. He had that with the bell bottom and everything.
We're getting off topic, though.
Anyhow.
I'm on the show.
So, yeah, everybody's here, full panel. You know what happens when it's a full panel. We get a little wild, but still. So, anyway, guys, this past Thursday, we had a Pokemon Direct. Lots of pertinent information for Pokemon Sword and Shield, as well as a somewhat surprising remake announcement for Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. So we're going to talk about that. We also have one story for our Powered Up news. But before we do that, I just want to say, dude, our predictions were way off base last episode.
We got a couple things right.
I got some like dates right. I got some like DLC stuff right.
You said DLC. I said, I want Mystery Dungeon or Ranger. We got Mystery Dungeon.
Yeah,
we'll thought for sure. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll talk about all the stuff. We'll get into that when we talk about our actual, topic. But for right now, we have our Powered Up news, and man, this story broke last week, and I don't feel like enough people are talking about it. Like, I feel like, yeah, it made it to every like Nintendo site, but like nobody's like talked about it in depth. Nobody in the Nintendo world is really talking about it. I think more the PC side, but during CES, which is the Consumer Electronics Show, which is the thing that used to be so CES is where E3 spun off from. So without CES, there'd be no E3.
Right, yeah.
Biggest consumer electronics show in the world. There are a bunch of smaller ones. This is the big mamma jamma. Everybody wants to show off the best tech, and it's always in January. At least since the last like 5 or 6 years, they've done it in January, like the first week of January. Well, this year, Dell brought something new to the table. Their AlienWare UFO prototype was debuted at CES, and it is a Nintendo Switch clone, straight up. Now, we have some specs here, but if you just look at the design of this monstrosity, that's what I'm going to call it. It's definitely a monstrosity. You're going to get Nintendo Switch vibes. Any thoughts on this while I go ahead and pull up the exact specs?
I'm a big fan. I'm just leave it there for now. I'm a very big fan of this product.
Yeah, for me, I think that the fact that it's not really being talked about just shows that it's not really there for them. There's no market for it, right? It's kind of like the Google Stadia. Like, people make fun of the Google Stadia. It's meme worthy. That's about it. and that's kind of the general reception that I've been seeing on the internets and the Twitterverse and whatnot. Although maybe it's just what I've been exposed to, but all in all, that's where I think it's going to be right now.
All right. So I got some of the specs, some of the stuff that's actually available to us because Dell didn't actually give out a ton of information. So this looks like a Switch, but it's actually a full-on PC that will run Windows 10, and it's going to be powered by a 10th generation Intel processor. In handheld mode, it has a 720p resolution, which is identical to what the Switch does with its better-looking games. I know a few games actually come in at like 600p, and I think there's a game that like does 570. But still, at its peak performance in handheld, you're getting 720p with like 60 frames per second on the Switch. This thing will also dock. It has removable controllers, just like the Joy-Cons. But they're supposedly more ergonomic. Now, I've heard conflicting details as to whether or not some people like the feel compared to the Switch. Other people don't like the feel of it. It's definitely bigger. It boasts an 8.1 inch touchscreen versus the Nintendo Switch's 6.2 inch. So it's a bigger handheld altogether, and it's much heftier than the Switch. Aside from that, there does come with a grip that you can slide the Joy-Cons in. So we're going to call them Joy-Cons just for brevity's sake, so that you have a form factor that's damn near identical to the Nintendo Switch. And then you've got some cool little features like light-up analog sticks, which is really not important, but Dell decided that's something they want to do. It's got like full-on triggers that are supposedly a little too small for what the system is, considering it's a much bigger system. And the games that they have running on it, apparently they were able to run Mortal Kombat 11 and F1 2019. So yeah, this is a PC designed to look like a Switch. Now, my personal thoughts on this is I hope Dell gets sued. Straight up, I hope Dell gets sued. This is outright plagiarism. How many times has Nintendo been sued for copyright infringement? This is 100% copyright infringement, from the tablet form factor to the sliding Joy-Cons to the placement of the buttons on each bootleg Joy-Con. This is outright plagiarism. Now, Dell has said that this may never come to market, and that's kind of their way of shielding themselves from a potential lawsuit. But you have to imagine that if the PC community is excited about this, which looks like a good portion of people are within the PC community, that this will definitely come to market in some way, shape, or form. Now, the biggest difference is that the Switch is using a much simpler processor with the NVIDIA Tegra X6. Is that what it was? The Tegra
Something like that. It might have been an AMD one. I'm not exactly sure.
I know it's the NVIDIA Tegra, but I can't remember if it's the X6 or the X2. It's one of those. So yeah, it's much more powerful. However, this is essentially a gaming PC with a handheld form factor. But yeah, like in theory, this is cool because it's a much more powerful system operating, or functioning like the Switch. But on the flip side, I look at this on like copyright infringement, like 100% copyright infringement. And it's funny because Nintendo gets sued all the time for alleged copyright infringement. Nobody from Nintendo's made a statement on this, and I'm very interested to hear what they have to say.
I'm the guy who's just loving this. So, Jaden, you had mentioned that there's no real market for it that you could see so far. But I always think the market's already there. That is the Switch owners. So one thing that the Switch has proved to me so far is that games play best when they can be played in home console mode and then just taken on the go. Like the ability to play a game that is PC or PlayStation or Xbox exclusive on the go is phenomenal. And yeah, you have laptops. They're technically portable, but they're not really portable like a Switch is. And so I love the ability to be able to play like Alan Wake, Control, all my Remedy games, things that I can't play on Switch right now, Call of Duty, etc. Like you have some Assassin's Creeds now, but games that I enjoy on either PC or other consoles that I just can't take portably. This is the opportunity for that here. And it's a whole PC, so I can write my presentation. I can actually watch Netflix on it, So there's other like PC benefits here too.
Are there really though? Because like when we start talking about the portability of the Switch, a lot of Switch games have a single player experience. When we're looking at PC games, a lot more of those, like the more popular ones, are looking strictly at online multiplayer. Now, will this thing like be able to connect online without a Wi-Fi connection? These are things that have to be addressed in the PC market more than they have to be addressed for the Nintendo Switch.
Right.
But theoretically, you would want this thing to have like 4G, 5G capabilities built into it in order to accommodate for gaming on the go properly for a PC player. I think you take features, if those features aren't built within the system, it's more of a hard sell because a lot of those, PC gamers are going to want to play when they want to play, how they want to play.
Right, and that's where I was going to go with that point.
Especially if it's Stadia compatible. Imagine if this is Stadia compatible.
Right, and even then, even if it's Stadia compatible, I don't know if that's hitting your hardcore like PC gaming market, because the PC gaming market, they have a lot of their games on like Steam, for example. How is this going to interact with Steam? Are you going to be able to take your Steam games and play it on this Alienware thing, or are you going to have to buy it off a separate store? I mean, a large portion of the PC gaming community is upset at Epic Store for that kind of reason alone.
Exactly.
And I don't know how that's going to work. And a lot of this, like, they get away with calling it a gaming PC because there's no real like standardized market version of, to call something a gaming PC, it needs to have X, Y, and Z or Z. Because really, it's got a 10th generation Intel processor, but it's also a mobile processor. So, it's kind of like the gaming equivalent of calling the Windows Surface Pro gaming PC, right? Because that can run Windows 10. I could play my games on that if I wanted to. It's got some of them have like the latest generation Intel processors, and so I really think they're just getting away with calling it a handheld gaming device because they don't have those sorts of standards. Because I know a lot of the PC master race, they consider a gaming PC to have all the components, having a dedicated GPU and a dedicated CPU, which this thing does not have.
I wonder what the cooling system is like on the inside of this thing.
And the battery life.
Yeah, because Dell has not given out any specs on it. Like, they've been like keeping this real close to the chest. Again, we do want to preface that this is a prototype device. This may never enter the market, but just looking at it, man, like, I could not believe that they had the boldness to just go out there and say, look what we made. We built a Nintendo Switch out of a PC.
I mean, definitely, I think it's not for the PC market, even though they're the ones sort of talking about it. The PC market, they like you said, to have the online functionality. They like multiplayer games. They like to play how they want to play, mouse and keyboard, stuff like that. I think this is just sort of to be a powerful 60 frames per second. I think this is just like an extension to the experience. Like, oh, I'm playing this really great, single player RPG on PC. I can also download it on this and just take that with me it's like a casual like gaming. Also do this. So
right. And I agree.
It's definitely with that. Not for the core PC audience, though. Given that, but I personally love it because I think games play best when I have that option.
Yeah, and see the thing, where I get stuck on that is it's like, okay, I get it that is who you're trying to target, but this is also an Alienware thing, right?
Yeah.
Since it's Alienware, it'll probably cost an arm and a leg.
Yeah, it'll cost an arm and a leg and probably not be that good.
And so from that standpoint, like, okay, if that's where we're at, then why don't I just buy a PC, right? Like a gaming PC. I don't know. That's where I'm at with that entire thing.
I could see that argument, but I could see the argument of just the convenience of a device like this.
Mhm.
Man, it's really hard to transport a high-powered PC anywhere.
Yeah.
Especially ones that are built to play games like League of Legends, like those high-end, like, PCs that people are like doing crazy things with. But then I feel like you have a hard time convincing PC gamers to step away from mouse and keyboard.
Yeah,
too.
this has options to support it, but it's like, well, if you're taking it portably, you're not going to be mouse keyboard and then like you need 6 arms and a table on you at all times.
Now there are some things that I do like about the UFO. I like its kickstand. It is a far superior kickstand to what was offered with
It's
the
the
Nintendo
entire back of the system. Why did Nintendo do that?
Yeah, it just like folds out. Yeah, it's way more. I don't know if it's innovative or if Nintendo was just trying to be hyper cost effective when designing the Nintendo Switch. Either way, that is a much more stable kickstand, and it's though I've never really had problems with the kickstand except for the fact that because it's like just on one end, when I'm trying to prop it, like it sometimes will lean to the side that doesn't have any support. I just went ahead and I bought a stand for my Switch just so I never have to use the kickstand. But yeah, I mean, I would love to hear a Nintendo representative's thoughts on the UFO. Because you know how Nintendo is, because Nintendo be weird sometimes. Instead of like going straight for the jugular, they'll be like complimentary towards like a competitor, especially when they have like a similar product. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody at Nintendo was like, we think this is a great idea. I think it opens up the market for more systems like this to exist. And that's not the answer I want to hear, but I feel like that's the answer we'd most likely get from Nintendo if a representative were to come out and speak on the subject.
We kind of make jokes. I don't know if we do on here at the show, but I make jokes about how Sony would just copy whatever Nintendo does, but worse. If Sony came out with their own Nintendo Switch, I think it would be pretty cool. It depends on how much support they give it. They can't just let it die like they did the Vita. But I think if they made a Switch, it has some value. I think that's good because the Switch does the portability is just so good. It does things so right.
I feel like a Vita owner, this like speaks directly to like a Vita owner.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Like we have to wait and see. I think Dell's gonna release this product. I think they're gonna. They're gonna refine it a little bit more, but I definitely think this is actually gonna make it to market.
Yeah.
By 2021.
I think they put too much into getting it like really, really good to not release it into the market. Like, look at it. The ergonomics, the LEDs. Like, no, it's definitely at least gonna come.
It's definitely not just something that a showcase item. Like. Like sometimes you go to CES and you see products that are not designed to come out, but they will have features that will make it to mass market. But they'll put it in like a car that has like it'll be ugly, it'll be like super boxy, and they're like it's the car of the future, and that car will never make it to market. But the technology in that car will become standard at some point in time.
Right.
This is not that effect right here. What this is a fully formed idea, realized, and the tech is there, and Dell says that they can do it. Don't be surprised if this hits the market by 2021 at the latest.
I think the biggest thing for me is that it's a PC. It's probably not going to be as good as other PCs by far, but in contrast to the other things in the market, like Nintendo Switch and the Game Vice, because Game Vice is a thing. So remember that. But like things like the Game Vice are usually like phones or tablets with controllers, and so they only really play mobile games, or if they do play full-fledged games, they're games that are being streamed to it through services like Stadia. So it's like, well, this is a full PC, so I get the full PC games at my disposal, and that's good.
Yeah. Well, I think with that said, we've touched on everything that we know about the UFO. I mean, there's not a whole much more because Dell just didn't want to release anything. Maybe to shield themselves from any backlash, but maybe because they just they just want to keep their cards close to their chest. But either way, Dell decided that they weren't going to speak on it too much, and I can't really like I said, if they're shielding themselves from any backlash from like either the PC community or a company like Nintendo, not a bad idea. With that, we'll go ahead and we will move into our actual discussion, and that would be the Pokemon Direct. The biggest news to come out of this Direct was that Nintendo started with a Pokemon Direct instead of a proper Nintendo Direct.
Right. Weird,
but I'm with it. So they spent the bulk of it talking about Pokemon Sword and Shield. Blues and I had made some predictions. I had speculated about Detective Pikachu. We had speculated about things like movie trailers or like spin-off games.
Everything we thought that we were sure they had to talk about, they just didn't touch on. Detective Pikachu, Pokemon Home, and Pokemon Sleep. That's the one. Just were not mentioned. They name dropped Pokemon Home. That's like
that's about it.
What? Yeah,
the service drops next month. When's Detective Pikachu? Come on.
So yeah, it's like even like a release window. I said, if they were going to drop Detective Pikachu, it'd be in March. Well, we are getting a Pokemon game in March, but it's not Detective Pikachu. What we're getting is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. It's a remake of the original Mystery Dungeon game, and
games Red Rescue Team and Blue Rescue Team.
Right.
Yes, the first two games. So I'm fairly interested in this because I'm a huge fan of the Ranger series.
Series.
I'm sorry, the Mystery Dungeon series.
Oh, the Ranger's good too. So
yeah, I know. I wanted Ranger.
Yes, I do love the Ranger. But yeah, this was a shocker. I'm a huge fan of it, but I'm conflicted because it's the first two games, not like the far superior second or third game in the series. Also, the art direction that they chose for this is a little strange. It's got like this storybook quality to it, but with like CG Pokemon models. And I don't.
Oh yeah, you're right, huh?
I don't hate it. I'm just a little confused by it. Is the proper like terminology, I would say. I did play the demo, and if you're watching the live version of the show, I am streaming demo footage live as we speak right now. Probably doesn't look too great, but yeah, it exists. It's here, and I'll fix it. I'll make it look better in post. But for right now, yeah, I'm a little conflicted. Like, the game is still Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. It still feels like that classic game, except for maybe the analog controls aren't so great, but the D-pad controls feel the same. Is this the right time for a Mystery Dungeon game, in you guys' opinion? Because, like, for me, it's like, I don't know. I don't think this was the third-tier game to come back out with. I think a Ranger game would have been more welcome, in my opinion.
I think from fan base wise, sure, a Ranger game would have been nice, but I think that the Mystery Dungeon just translates better because it's not necessary to have that touchscreen. You know what I mean?
I think so. As a big personal Ranger fan, I've always sort of felt that the Mystery Dungeon titles were a bit more successful and just worked a bit better on all platforms. I think Mystery Dungeon is like the best spinoff, despite being a big fan of Ranger personally. So I think that if they're going to release a spinoff title, it would have been Mystery Dungeon. I think the March release window is kind of weird. I'm glad it's coming like real soon. I love me some Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, but real soon, like in March specifically, is kind of weird right now. That's my big thing.
Yeah, the timing of it isn't so shocking to me. I figured they'd have a March release, but I thought it would be for Detective Pikachu. Like, that window was like pretty open in my opinion. We haven't heard any big news from any other Nintendo studios about games releasing in March yet. So March seemed like a viable time frame. I just didn't think it would be Mystery Dungeon. Now, I played the game twice, or the demo twice. What's nice about the demo is if you play the demo and you do decide you want to buy the game, your save data from the demo can be carried over to the actual full-on game, so you don't have to replay the first few missions. And they actually give you a fair number of mystery dungeons missions to explore in this demo, it took me about 45 minutes to play through the entire demo, which is nice. And I think the visual improvements to the game are nice, but at the same time, this even though there are visual improvements from like traditional sprite work, I do have to admit that this is a pretty low effort game on who's making this game. Is it Chunsoft, like who made the actual Mystery Dungeon game for the Pokemon series?
I don't know. I always thought it was Game Freak.
I know Chunsoft has made the Mystery Dungeon games in the past. I don't know as far as the remake goes. I don't think they showed anything from the trailer about like who's developing it. And I personally have not played the game yet, the demo. I am here still currently as we speak breeding Slowpoke. I am at over 4,000 Slowpoke and still no shiny Slowpoke, and I'm losing my mind. And I refuse to play the demo. Shall I get my shiny Slowpoke? Well, I think Chunsoft is making yes.
So if Chunsoft is making this game, if they're making this game again, this is a very low effort like make of the game. Like I kind of like the dream-like storybook aesthetic of it, but at the same time, it's definitely something they didn't have to work extraordinarily hard building upon. Like this is something that like a semi-proficient, graphics designer could have done for them. Like, and that's not a terrible thing. Like it's a stylistic choice. It just, for me, it doesn't necessarily click with the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series. Now, I think it may fit like the story of the game, where the game has this like dreamlike quality to it, not dissimilar to Link's Awakening in a sense. And I wonder if Link's Awakening was a little bit of inspiration, because remember how Link's Awakening started with that beautiful anime style cutscene, and then when you get into the game itself, everything is like very toy-like.
Right.
Now,
yeah.
So I'm wondering if they like felt like some kind of like inspiration and decided we can do something similar with the Mystery Dungeon series, because the story is a kid wakes up as a Pokemon, and and there's a lot of like dream-based stuff that happens within the game itself. So they could go for like this a very similar dream-like aesthetic to the game. Like I said, personally, I don't know if it necessarily meshes well for me, but it's definitely there. And I see some people liking it. I see some people hating it. Any other thoughts on the Mystery Dungeon series as a whole?
Personally, this art style resonates with me, and as a Mystery Dungeon title, I love this for Mystery Dungeon. I like it a whole lot more than we got for Gates to Infinity and Super Mystery Dungeon. Like, this, I think, is great, especially compared to those. I'm sure if you wanted to choose the art direction, it probably could have been better, but I think it's an improvement from those titles, personally. Now, I'm very torn between Explorers of Sky, Time and Darkness, whatever, and Red Rescue Team, Blue Rescue Team, as far as my favorite Mystery Dungeon, but they are definitely up there as my favorites, all 5 of them. So I'm very happy to see this remade. I'm definitely looking forward to this.
Yeah, see, I agree with most of that, except the last part there, and that's the curious point for me is, why would they simply remaster a game instead of releasing a new installment? And that's why I'm like,
Because this is the best Pokemon Mystery Dungeon has ever been. Let's face it, Gates of Infinity and Super Mystery Dungeon weren't as good as this. I'm really glad to see this come back, because this is how all of them should have been. It's just like this.
See, for me, I prefer the second game. What I do like about this, though, is that it does the one thing that should have always been, it consolidates the 2 games into one.
Yeah.
Now,
it is nice. Yeah.
If you haven't played the original Mystery Dungeon, this was one of the weirdest rollouts of a single game I've ever seen. So you had your Red Rescue Team was a Game Boy.
Game Boy.
No. Yeah, no.
It was
Red
Game Boy
Rescue
Advance.
Yeah, no.
And then
Red
Blue Rescue Team was
a
DS.
I thought the Blue Rescue Team was the
Blue Rescue
Advance.
Team was DS, because I didn't have a DS, so I only played Red.
Okay, so yeah, the Red Rescue Team was the Game Boy Advance game, and the Blue Rescue Team was the DS game. And if you had both games in the system at the same time, you unlock the full potential of the story.
Mhm.
Now you could play. What they wanted you to do was play each game individually, and then slot them in at the same time for the expanded content that you got if both games were in it. Now, it was a novel idea at the time, but that does not work with the way that the Switch is built. This is a single game, a game slot. A single game slot means you can only have one game in at a time, which means they've had to consolidate all that content onto a single cartridge.
Well, I just think it's good that they're one game, and I think that's how the spin-offs should always be one game. It was cool back in the day, but spin-offs shouldn't be two versions. They did that. They stopped doing Mr. Dungeons as two versions, I think, in the bad ones, though. Gates to Infinity, though. So maybe that's the reason. I don't know.
Well, I am gonna buy this game. I did enjoy my time with the demo. Like my skepticism with the art direction aside, those games are just fun. Mystery dungeon games in general are fun. Like
Yeah, I agree.
This is built around like that same engine that Chocobo Mystery Dungeon was. Actually, I think initially the plan was to do a Mystery Dungeon game, a sequel to the Chocobo Mystery Dungeon series, when Nintendo had hooked up with Chunsoft and said, "Hey, you want to do a Pokemon game?" And that's how they got this off the ground. But yeah, I mean, as a fan of the Mystery Dungeon series, and that includes the Chocobo stuff, I'm happy to see this franchise come back. Even though I might not feel like it's the right time, I think the time was. I think they really needed to capitalize on Detective Pikachu more than I think they needed to capitalize on the Mystery Dungeon series.
Like, I could have seen this being summer to fall, like, release, and that would have felt better to me. But, like, there's a lot, as far as the entire gaming industry is concerned, there's a lot going down in March. Like, there's The Last of Us 2, Animal Crossing New Leaf, now Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
Yeah,
I think like two other big games, and then I think a couple small games. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but March is looking kind of stacked.
Well, this is an interesting time for me as far as games are concerned. I don't know what 2020 holds as far as like Nintendo releases, but with everything coming out on the other platforms, I'm gonna be pretty busy. So.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I guess we're kind of wrapping up Mystery Dungeon here, so I want to make one last comment. They started this off with just the year 2006. They had Sony Diamond Pearl Platinum remake fans losing their shit when they saw 2006.
That's true, huh? I thought about that.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Forgot that was the same year.
Well, in Japan it was.
It's so funny.
But that's
honestly, I felt like Mystery Dungeon came out before that, but
it did, yeah. The first DS Pokemon anything I think was Pokemon Dash, and then Mystery Dungeon, and then Diamond Pearl Platinum.
Oh god, Pokemon Dash!
I forgot all about
I know.
that. Damn.
That was garbage, but I had it anyways.
Wow.
Yes, so did I. All right, so yeah, I mean, I really don't have any further thoughts on Mystery Dungeon. The demo is available right now, so if you haven't downloaded it and you're on the fence about Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, go ahead, get on the Nintendo eShop. It's a free download, and like I said, it's a pretty full demo. Just casually playing took me about 45 minutes. I think that's a pretty well-timed demo. Pretty much gets you to like the first, major story beat.
Believe me, I'm trying. You just gotta wait for the slowpoke.
Right, yeah.
All right.
Don't do what I did. Just play it.
So, with that said, we can go ahead and get into like the bulk of the Nintendo Direct, which I'm gonna be honest, I'm 100% completely shocked at the fact that the majority of the 20 minutes of the Direct was actually spent on Sword and Shield. Really, they spent maybe 2-3 minutes talking about Mystery Dungeon, and that included a full-on trailer. Like the fact that roughly 16 minutes of the Direct was all Sword and Shield news, that was cool, and it was unexpected. I thought there was like, here's a spin-off, here's a new mobile game, Pokemon Home, Pokemon Sleep. That's what I was expecting, and that's what our prediction video highlighted the fact that we would be seeing those things, and we saw none of it, which shocked me, because it's like when you think you've predicted, Nintendo's and Game Freak's and the Pokemon company's patterns, they throw you for a curveball. So it is what it is. I'm happy with what they showed, and I know a lot of people. There's a lot of debate within the community about what they showed, and we can talk about that in a little bit. But let's go ahead and talk about what they said.
Right.
So, as we explained earlier, the bulk of the direct was about the Pokemon Sword and Shield expansion pass. And Junichi Masuda and Shigeru Omori discussed that typically that there is a third adventure when developing Pokemon games like Red, Blue, and Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have your weird sequels like Black and White 2 and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. But there's typically some type of third experience. For this game, Pokemon Sword and Shield, they decided that they didn't want to create a new adventure, a new experience. They wanted to expand and build upon the existing adventure so that you can take your current Pokemon Sword or Shield save data and begin your new adventure. So what they've done is they've essentially added 2 new regions. Let's not call them regions because that's going to cost
2 new wild areas.
2 new wild areas to the Galar region map. The first will be included in the first expansion pass, and that's going to be the Isle of Armor. This is going to come out in June of 2020, and there are some cool new things that we can talk about here. So there's going to be some new features, new Pokemon.
Slowpoke.
Slowpoke, which is actually already available in the game. If you haven't gone to Wedgehurst, go to the Wedgehurst station and go ahead and access your Galarian Slowpoke. But yeah, let's start with the Isle of Armor because that's what they showed. Once you get to the Isle of Armor, when that does launch, you are going to meet Mustard.
I love that name. Sensei Mustard.
Right.
Yes, Sensei Mustard. We should go ahead. I should have had his character description open. Don't know why I didn't.
He was a former champion of Galar. He trained Leon. Leon is his former apprentice, and now he's training you. He's very strong. He runs a dojo in the Isle of Armor, and he gives you a special Pokemon.
Yes.
If you want to transition off of that.
I am still trying to load the Pokemon website.
All right, so he gives you Cubfu. Cubfu is, I'm not sure if he's legendary, but he's basically going to be the legendary.
They called him legendary, right, but he also evolves, which is really interesting.
I mean, so did Cosmog.
Oh, you're right, Cosmog did. I forgot about Cosmog.
And then Manaphy lays eggs.
Yes. All right. So Cubfu. Cubfu is a category Wushu fighting. Oh, I'm sorry. Category Wushu Pokemon. Type fighting. Height 2 feet tall. Weight 26.5 pounds. His ability is Inner Focus. His description goes as follows. A serious Pokemon dedicated to its training. This Pokemon is hardworking and strives to train both its body and mind. It uses each defeat as motivation, training itself with even more vigor after a loss in order to grow stronger. It has an organ that produces fighting energy in its lower abdomen before heading into battle. It will increase this energy through unique breathing techniques and intense focus. It dwells in distant mountains. Wild Cubfu live in mountainous areas away from the Galar region today, but it was once a species that called Galar its home. It's noted in historical texts that this species used to head to uncharted lands with people as they set out to trade or explore. Records suggest that Cubfu living in faraway mountains today may have descended from Cubfu. I really hate the name of this Pokemon. Cubfu that became naturalized in distant lands they visited in their journeys. Because I just want to say the word Kung Fu.
Yeah, I found that same trap.
Yep.
Based off that description, he doesn't sound, or she doesn't sound legendary. It sounds like there's a whole bunch of them in the world, just far away from Galar now.
Yeah, I don't know why they called it legendary in the video, but whatever. I'm just saying, the entire thing is a giant JoJo reference, so throwing it out there. It's a JoJo reference.
I don't watch JoJo. It is too wild for me.
Like, there's
a lot of
like JoJo poses in Sword and Shield. Leon's victory pose, Swordbert and Shieldbert have like early anime poses.
It's fucking amazing, and this is like
they just need
clearly a Ripple user because he uses his breathing. The Cubfu uses his breathing to change his techniques. JoJo
Yeah,
reference.
Hamon energy for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so we do know that cub food does evolve, as stated in his description. And he actually has two separate forms of which he can evolve into. The evolution, the evolution Urshifu. Cub food will evolve into Urshifu after it's undergone sufficient training. It seems Urshifu has two forms, single strike style and rapid strike style, and it appears that each form has different types as well. So starting with Urshifu single strike, it is the Wushu Pokemon. Its type is fighting dark. Its height is 6'3", weighs 231.5 pounds, and its ability is Unseen Fist. The move Merciless Blow. Urshifu in this form favor battling without holding anything back. When enraged, they will mercilessly attack an opponent until it is utterly crushed. A single strike style Urshifu's movements are also direct and involve rushing forward in a straight line. It will keep its distance from its opponents at first, only to leap in close in an instant to deliver a powerful blow. Rapid strike style for Urshifu is also the Wushu Pokemon. Its type is Fighting Water. Height also 6'3", weight is also 231, and it also carries the ability Unseen Fist. Urshifu in this form maintain a calm demeanor while observing their opponents and measuring their strength while dodging attacks. A rapid strike style Urshifu will use flowing movements in battle to smoothly parry an opponent's moves and then overwhelm the opponent with a flurry of rapid strikes. So note that Cubfu will either evolve into one or the other. Does not change. They have not stated what is required to make the evolution happen. We don't know if you need a special headband to evolve or special armband. You know how they have these weird, especially this generation has so many weird style evolutions. I wonder what the evolution requirements will ultimately end up being to get either style. Now we do know that these Pokemon also Gigantamax, and Lord, I love the artwork that they made for this.
Yeah.
All right, so Gigantamax Urshifu single strike, height 95 feet 2 inches plus, weight period. Ability Unseen Fist. In this form, Urshifu looks ready to bellow in fury. People call it both the very embodiment of rage and divine emissary that banishes evil spirits with its fury. And then we have the rapid strike style. In this form, Urshifu will quietly maintain its stance with a calm expression. When facing this Pokemon, it seems that some will become greatly agitated, feeling as if the very depths of their soul have been exposed. Yet others report feeling a sense of relief, as if they've been cleansed of evil spirits. And God, the artwork that they made for this. They did such a good job of coming up with key art to really highlight this. We've repurposed it for our thumbnail for today's episode, and it absolutely looks phenomenal, in my opinion. These are cool looking legendaries, man. Any thoughts?
Well, hold on, I want to see that art.
I mean,
been a
the
while.
best thing about this is still Slowpoke is back. That's all I really gotta say. The few Pokemon I was really excited, or that I was upset that they didn't make it back, were Slowpoke and his evolution line, which now have the Galarian forms, which is even better. So Slowpoke, Breloom, and Shroomish, which we still don't know if they are back or not. There is Zoroark, which is back, and Volcarona, which is back. Talonflame was kind of up there for me too, but I don't really like Talonflame either. But I was like, yeah, it's good to see it back. So we got a whole bunch of Pokemon I really wanted. I'm just waiting on Breloom and Shroomish now, really. So that's my big takeaway. I'm sorry, the legendary, it's cool. Cubfu's cute. They just seem to have lots of bears being fighting type these days. That's a thing. What Pangoro, Stuffle, and Beware, and now Cubfu. I'm kind of just over it. Fighting bears, they're cool.
Oh, damn it. Okay, I thought for a second that the two poses for Urshifu might have been a DBZ reference to Vegeta versus Goku style. No, but if you watch Dragon Ball Z, there is the first time
that iconic
the iconic
stances.
Goku's in his wide stance, and Vegeta has that weird crossover stance. It's really weird. It's a very strange stance, but they end super with that scene.
Yes,
It's super iconic, and I thought for a second it might have been referencing both of those because that would have been super sick. A double reference, but it's not.
They reference Dragon Ball all the time in a Pokemon, though.
They
honestly.
do.
They really do, yeah.
So
But
we can go
anyway.
ahead and move into Galarian Slowpoke. Get him out of the way.
Yes.
All right, so Galarian Slowpoke, category Dopey Pokemon, type Psychic, height 3 foot 11 inches, weight 79.4 pounds, ability Gluttony or Own Tempo. The alluring Galarica spice. The Slowpoke of the Galar region used to eat the seeds of a certain plant that grew in their habitats, as this was their favorite food. These seeds were in fact Galarica seeds, used to this day as an essential spice for cooking. The Slowpoke and Galar built up particles of this spice in their bodies over several generations, eventually gaining the unique appearance and behavior they are known for today. And there is not a whole lot of design difference between Slowpoke and Galarian Slowpoke, except for like the yellow tops of their head and the yellow tips of their tails. All right. Galarian Slowpoke spend their days wallowing on seashores, riverbanks, without thinking about anything in particular. Once in a while, they might get a very sharp look in their eyes, but they will soon revert back to their zoned-out expression. It's thought that this behavior is caused by the accumulated Galarica particles stimulating Galarian Slowpoke's brain, resulting in its thinking of something tremendous, only for the Galarian Slowpoke to immediately forget what it had just thought of. Okay. Now,
is this just supposed to be like poppy seeds?
I don't know. Well, let's not go there.
It's just lore reasons. Oh, we have to make a thing that they ate, I guess.
So,
let's call it Galarian seeds.
We do know that Galarian Slowpoke can also evolve into a Galarian Slowbro or Galarian Slowking, but we have yet to see either of those Galarian forms for this Pokemon.
You get to see their faces.
Yeah,
parts of their bodies.
Yes, when they've decided to suspiciously marker out the entire design. Thanks, Pokemon Company, for that.
I mean, specifically, I think on both of them they cut off the parts where the Shelder would be. So I think the biggest thing is that it wouldn't be Shelder. It's something different from Shelder. Also is weird, but
that's true. Yeah,
because they showed Slowbro, but they cut off the head and they cut off just enough of the belly to not show the tail, and it showed without Slowking's entire head. So something's up with that Shelder. I don't know what it is, but it's cool.
All right. Before we talk about the rest of the Pokemon on the list, because Galarian Slowpoke is already attainable at the time of this recording, there is a little bit of a story beat once you go to Wedgehurst. You will meet one of two new
rivals
/ potential gym leaders. If you're playing Pokemon Sword, you will meet Clara. Clara specializes in poison-type Pokemon and is training hard at Mustard's dojo. She'll do just about anything to appear adorable and cute, as popularity is what she admires most of all. She goes about her days with a smile on her face, but hiding behind it is a very calculating nature that she puts to very good use. Now, Clara is a poison-type gym leader, which Pokemon Sword players do not get to fight against a poison-type gym leader if in the standard playthrough. So it's nice to have a gym leader that will represent, poison type plus extra gym leader. If you're playing Pokemon Shield, you will run into Avery. Avery is one of the trainers who strive to become stronger at Mustard's dojo, and he is a proficient user of psychic Pokemon. He is gentlemanly and well-mannered, but also very proud, and it seems he'll see you as a particularly formidable rival. So, again, if you've played Pokemon Shield, you do not have a psychic gym, so they are filling the spaces. I do want to point out how androgynous Avery is.
Yeah, super.
I think this is one of the most androgynous character designs that they've actually implemented in a Pokemon game in the West.
The most masculine thing about Avery is the top hat.
Yep.
So that's other than that, it's just a girl. It's a girl belonging to the top hat. Oh yeah, it could be a guy, right?
Very androgynous.
Yeah, and I couldn't. I was trying to look at the model and be like, is there a chest there? Can't really tell.
Most Pokemon, you can't see like chests on them a lot of the time. It's very like it's specifically like Wick and Melody, which are just two older women that you see chests on. It's like, oh, and I guess Sonia. So
Now, the reason I bring these two characters up is because, yeah, you run into them
in
based
Wetchurst Station.
in Witcher Station, and that you get to meet these characters and you get a glimpse of their personalities. Now, I got to meet Clara in my edition, and yeah, she seems very shrewd, but I mean, I do like the character. I like her design. She seems like she's gonna be a cool new addition to the game. Like, this game has done fantastic at like fleshing out the side characters. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how she develops as a rival. And the same goes for Avery. I won't get to experience that unless I somehow decide to get Pokemon Shield between now and the time this comes out. Anyway, back to the Pokemon themselves. We finally got confirmation of Gigantamax forms. Now, I'm a little confused at the way they worded this. Are they only going to be able to Gigantamax in the Isle of Armor / Crown Tundra wild areas? Because that's how they kind of made it seem. Like,
I would imagine it is you can only find their Gigantamax forms in those areas because they're going to have their own dens. So if I want to catch a Gigantamax Pokemon that is added in to the expansion, I can only encounter these Pokemon in their Gigantamax forms in their appropriate area, if that makes sense. But then you can keep it and use it for online, in the main story, whatever.
See, but the way they made it sound was like your specific starter.
Yeah, and see, what I think might happen is that
the new starters.
within the story is that they'll do something along the lines where through that dojo training shit, they'll be able to gain access to the Gigantamax.
Yeah, that's what
I'm thinking they're going to do.
I thought you meant Venusaur and Blastoise.
The original starters. Yeah, I see how you could make that. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
I forgot the new starters had a Gigantamax form because they just dropped the ball on that originally.
Yeah, it made it sound like to me that the only way your starter can Gigantamax is in this new area in the Isle of Armor or the Crown Tundra. It was weird wording, and I would really like to see more, but the Pokemon website doesn't really break it down any better.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's go ahead. We'll start with Gigantamax Rillaboom. So he gets a forest of drums when he Gigantamaxes. Rillaboom's tree stump drum has grown rapidly to the point that it now resembles a small forest on its own. Gigantamax Rillaboom has merged with this forest of drums and become even more powerful. It can control its sticks as if they were its own limbs, and it will demonstrate transcendental drumming techniques. Jesus Christ, transcendental.
Yeah.
Too funny.
All right, its next part of the description. Gigantamax Rillaboom will focus completely on playing its drums, compelled by the power welling up inside it. The sound can reach across oceans and can be heard by those living in other regions. It is said that those who hear the beat will begin to dance uncontrollably, overwhelmed by a rhythm that surges up from inside them. Lord, what a description. Now, I love this, like how he has like his single bass drum has turned into like a full-on drum kit with like snares, cymbals, and all this extra stuff. Like, Jesus, this Pokemon, if he wasn't already a Donkey Kong reject, the whole instrument thing has gone like all the way. Like they've fully Donkey Kongified him with this, having a full-on drum kit as his as his main means of attacking. So, I mean, it is what it is. I think it's cool. I think the design actually improved by having a bigger drum kit. But with that said, we can go ahead and move into Gigantamax Cinderace. Now, this one is insane. Cinderace is standing on a giant fireball with a face on it. And it's weird. Like, I mean, I guess because he already kind of has like this soccer player vibe, it makes sense for him to like be riding a giant ball of fire. But goodness gracious, and if you don't get that joke,
Yeah, that's an old reference. That's good. It's clever. I like
So,
that.
the gigantic Pyro Ball. The burning ball at Cinderace's feet has grown to massive proportions thanks to Gigantamax energy. If Gigantamax Cinderace kicks the ball using its well-honed techniques, its fighting spirit will possess the ball and cause the ball to pursue opponents as if it had a mind of its own. That's just terrifying. All right, and then for its second description, Gigantamax Cinderace boasts incredible leg strength. In fact, its legs are said to rank among the strongest of all Pokemon. Even without its Gigantamax Pyro Ball, it can deliver powerful kicking moves that overwhelm other Dynamax Pokemon. I'm not really a big fan of this design. It's terrible, but it is what it is.
I agree. I'm not. I mean, I didn't really like Cinderace's design initially, and I don't think this really adds too much to it.
Oh, I do. I should make note that the categories for the Pokemon change. So for Rillaboom, he is now the Drummer Pokemon. For Cinderace, it now reads Striker Pokemon. And for Inteleon, he is the Secret Agent Pokemon, and they gave this motherfucker a sniper rifle.
Yeah, see, now that does something, I think. Like, that completely changes things. Okay, Cinderace has a bigger.
If you didn't think Cinderace was the best,
fireball.
if you didn't think Cinderace was the best starter Pokemon before this dude has a sniper rifle. He is the best starter of this generation.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Like, objectively, after all this, it's hard to argue.
Although his tail is like ridiculous in this form. So it's towering long tail. Inteleon has gained an extremely long tail thanks to Gigantamaxing. The tail's length is said to be over 130 feet. While Gigantamax, Inteleon will stretch out its long tail and hold it to straight to form a pillar, and Inteleon will take up a battle position at the top. This Pokemon has incredibly sharp mind and calculates the precise effects that gravity will have on the trajectory of its shots, enabling it to become extremely effective sniper. Told you, this is a Snipermon. Enhanced espionage tools. Inteleon has hidden tools within its body, and these have also been enhanced due to its Gigantamaxing. I don't even know how to say the word. The nictating membranes on its eyes not only allow it to measure the distance to the target, they now let Inteleon determine temperature, air pressure, and even humidity. Inteleon is a skilled sniper as well, easily hitting a barrier that's rolling around over 9 miles away. I'm so very happy that I picked Inteleon as my starter. Screw you, Rillaboom guys, and screw you, Cinderace fans. I'm sorry, but get sniped.
I think that Rillaboom still is the best Gigantamax form, and that Inteleon has the worst Gigantamax form, personally. Like, I'm the complete opposite. I think Rillaboom got the best one. Inteleon got, like, the worst one, is my opinion.
All right, so that's it for the confirmed Pokemon that we do know about.
We also got Blastoise and Venusaur confirmed.
Okay, yeah, I do want to talk about them, but they have their own section.
Okay.
Yeah, confirmed that we know about, and we know how to obtain them. We've talked about our new characters.
Yeah, from that standpoint, yeah.
Okay.
So we also have some new features that are going to be introduced in the Isle of Armor. So we have some new clothing items, more Pokedex information, and new max raid battles against new Pokemon. So let's get into that. We're going to have 200 plus Pokemon added with these expansions total. They didn't say what the breakdown would be, I don't think. I think it's 200, so probably like 100 and 100 between the two DLCs.
Yeah, I think that's how they broke it down. 100.
So, yeah, we're going to have some cool new things. Like, you're going to be able to change your character's clothing into very much more specific outfits. So, like, you can dress up as Rose now, which I don't know why you would do that. But
yeah, I don't know why my main character would want to dress as a legitimate criminal who tried to end the Galar region for the sake of free energy. Unlimited energy. Like, yeah, let me just dress like him.
So, yeah, not only that, but there are going to be new move tutors added to the DLC. New items like like the experience charm that will come in handy when you level up your Pokemon. You're gonna have new battle styles. The Isle of Armor will introduce a way to challenge yourself to some new battles with restricted sparring. You'll be limited in what types of Pokemon you can use and forced to battle under set conditions. So that's a pretty cool new feature. I'm highly interested in that. Aside from that, we're gonna have some new regional forms, which we've seen with Galarian, Slowpoke. Yep. New clothing, more new max battles. The entire area itself will function as an extension to the wild area, so you'll have complete camera control when you're in these new areas. Which, yes, can we talk about that for a second? Like expanding the wild area, essentially. Like for those people who thought the wild area was too small, I happen to think the wild area is big enough. Like it could be bigger, and I wouldn't mind it, but the wild area itself is pretty fulfilling. But adding more expansion to it, I'm definitely down with that. Yeah, and that's it for what we know about for the new features here. With that, we can go ahead and talk about the Crown Tundra, the second half of the DLC, which we don't have a specified date other than fall of 2020. We do know of one new Pokemon that will certainly appear in the Crown Tundra, and that's going to be Calyrex, and I'm just going to call him the Triforce Pokemon.
Yeah,
he's got Triforce on his Netflix. Not necklace.
Yeah, am I the only person getting Akuma vibes off of his necklace too?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, from Street Fighter.
The prayer beads, like
Okay, yeah.
All right. So in the Crown Tundra, you'll encounter Calyrex, the Pokemon whose image you'll find on the packaging for the Pokemon Sword Expansion Pass and Pokemon Shield Expansion Pass. So Calyrex is the king Pokemon. Its type is Psychic Grass. Its height is 3 foot 7 inches. It weighs 17 pounds, and it has the ability Unnerve. Its description reads as follows. This Pokemon ruled all of Galar in ancient times. Though it appears delicate in sight, its every move is filled with grace and dignity. It also has extremely high intelligence, and it's said to see every past, present, and future event. So let's talk about that description. Once ruled Galar in ancient times. So that story that you pieced together with
Sonia
talked about a king and the sword and the shield. Is this the king that's spoken of in the legend? Is Sonia gonna show up again to kind of like highlight this to do more research into the Galar region and find new information about the king of the Galar region and we find out that will be Calyrex? I feel like they're really trying to tie some Legend of Zelda stuff to this Pokemon. Just the Triforces on its, beads.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, and plus we know the Breath of the Wild inspirations that, the development team took. This kind of makes sense that they would have like some kind of like tribute to that and in Pokemon form. It's neat. Aside from that, I have said that I've really thoroughly enjoyed most of the new designs in Pokemon Sword and Shield. They stray very much away from what we would consider traditional Pokemon design, but this one doesn't really hit the mark for me. I kind of hate this thing. It's like a weird deer with like a onion on its head. I hate it.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things is that it doesn't follow Pokemon's newest design philosophy. For all their Pokemon. All the new Pokemon they've started making all have to look like they could be your friend. And this thing just doesn't give me, like, I don't want to hug it. I don't want to, it just, like, and it just looks weird otherwise, too. Like,
it also looks hyper angry.
Yeah, so, like, I don't want to be its friend. Like, and I think that's why I don't like it. Like, that's the design philosophy they've gone for. Is like, hey, if you can be your friend, it's a Pokemon. That chandelier, that ice cream cone, that bag of trash, they look friendly? Go for it. It's a Pokemon.
I kind of like them going back to the old style designs, though, because especially when you have like a legendary that is near godly in terms of scope and supposed power. Like, okay, I can get that.
All right, here's my argument for this specific Pokemon, though. At least in terms of godlike power, it's still inferior to Celebi. It can see into the future. Celebi can go into the future. No, so it's just worse Celebi. It's Psychic Grasp, the worst ability, and worst Pokedex description in terms of power set.
You know what's interesting though is that just literally last episode we were speculating on the Mew style.
Yeah, who would the Mew
legendary,
be?
what it would be. I didn't expect them to showcase it as a DLC Pokemon. But I mean, I am going to be interested in getting my hands on it, seeing how useful / not useful / it's going to be banned anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's one of the worst designs in my opinion. Like I'm not really a fan. Like I'm talking like 8 generations of Pokemon right here. This is one of the worst designs in any generation, in my opinion. But to each his own. I guarantee you, somebody out there likes it. Jaden doesn't seem to mind it that much.
I don't mind it. I'm not like,
but I'm not head over heels. No, nowhere close.
I'm pretty lukewarm towards it.
Like I tolerate this Pokemon's design, and that's where I'll stand. I tolerate it.
All right, so we don't know a whole lot about the Crown Tundra. We know far more about the Isle of Armor, and that's because the Isle of Armor will be coming out much sooner. Mm-hmm. So if this comes out. If the Isle of Armor is coming out in June, what are we looking at? Like in November / December?
Oh, wait. Before I move beyond that, I did want to touch on something. It skipped my mind. But when you mentioned the thing about Sonia, in the trailer, they don't tell you who you're going on expedition for and with. So it could be Sonia. I'm kind of curious if they're going to bring back an older professor.
Because they name-dropped Mustard, and then they showcased a new character for the Crown Tundra, who looks like an explorer of some kind, and they didn't talk about him, and they didn't show anything else.
And we don't even know if he's the guy who's heading it. He just may be some guy who's a part of it. Who the hell knows? And so I'm really hoping they use that.
The answer is it's Link. Link is looking for the Triforce Pokemon. He's going to show up because The Legend of Zelda, and it's like dimension hopping. Because we've had dimension hopping in Legend of Zelda. He's gonna show up and he's gonna be like, I need this Pokemon to come back to Hyrule with me.
So I think it should be Zelda.
I'd be okay with that.
I think Zelda is like a professor. Zelda is a Pokemon professor. At least the Breath of the Wild Zelda would make a great Pokemon professor. And Pokemon likes to make their females. Yeah. And so they're gonna try and make Zelda from Breath of the Wild, which is gonna be like a smart expedition kind of character, like she is in Breath of the Wild. And she'll lead this, and she'll get the Triforce.
How cool would that be? How cool would it actually be, though? Like Breath of the Wild 2, Calyrex just shows up.
I'd be okay with that, man.
On my predictions list, I said a crossover. I want a crossover.
So many Pokemon
X,
that I have.
Legend of Zelda.
All right, so yeah, that would be a great pipe dream. But okay, what we do actually know is coming to the Crown Tundra is a new form of co-op play.
Yes.
We already have raid battles.
Talk to me.
But now we're going to have this new feature, which is still essentially co-op raids. But in the Crown Tundra, you and your friends will be able to explore and enter Pokemon dens found in the Crown Tundra in a new gameplay feature. Deep inside these dens, you'll have a chance to encounter legendary Pokemon from previous Pokemon series games. So work together with other trainers to get as far as you can. So the way they visualized this within the trailer itself was walking into one of the dens that you see that pop out of the ground in the wild area. And in there will be legendary Pokemon that you and your friends or some randos can raid with. And oh my god, legendary raids. Okay, now some 5-star raids are pretty difficult. Not too terrible, but some of them can be pretty annoying. I can only imagine the difficulty that a legendary raid will provide a player with. And I hope the catch rate is unforgiving. I hope it's difficult to catch a legendary. I don't want to see like legendaries just gone about willy-nilly. I want to make, if they're going to do legendary raids, I want them to be accomplishments. Now, I know I'll be pissed when I don't catch a legendary Pokemon. I just need to do better. Make those difficult to obtain, but also make it fun and make those raid battles like really intense.
So, the first thing that sort of comes to my mind here is an entire like a dungeon raid, like a dungeon crawler sort of mode in Pokemon, which I absolutely love the idea of.
Right.
Just like go through an actual mystery dungeon, a procedurally generated, like it's just mystery dungeon, but in Sword and Shield.
Right. You know what
or
this
something, you know?
You know what this reminds me of is the in Pearl and Diamond, the underground. This is what I wanted the underground to be back then.
That could be cool, yeah. But yeah, you make a point with the whole legendaries being hard to capture. One thing they also mentioned in the Isle of Armor is that there will be Apricorn and like an Apricorn maker like Kurt.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
And I wonder if they're going to maybe expand on the balls you could make through Apricorns. Like I'd like to see Beast Balls specifically be able to be made through Apricorns. And Master Balls in Sword and Shield are in high demand between Gigantamax Pokemon, shiny Gigantamax Pokemon, and now a whole bunch of legendaries coming and potentially increased shiny rates or something for these shiny legendary Pokemon. People want Master Balls now. So don't make it like, oh, I have like 30 of this, Apricorn. Make it like every month you can find maybe this Apricorn, but that's like one Master Ball a month as opposed to the fucking lottery. That's a fucking mess. Oh gosh.
Oh yeah, I mean
like-
that's fair. Yeah, that makes sense.
You know,
Yeah, like that's the only way to get more.
I've still yet to do any Lotto ID anything. I just
Mhm.
I haven't.
I've gotten second prize so many fucking times. I'm losing my
Okay.
shit. I used my Master Ball on a shiny Colossal. Gigantamax Colossal I used it on. And I think that's nice, but I need more.
I haven't used my Master Ball yet. Like I caught Zaxxon with like an Ultra Ball.
I one-shotted Premier Bald with my Zamazenta.
Yeah, but I'm Legendary Raids. One of the better features of Pokemon Go, to say the least.
Mhm.
It'd be neat if you could raid with more than like Legendary Raids would be so hard that you have to raid with like a team of like 6 or 8. It'll probably they definitely won't do that. They'll keep it limited to 4. But
Yeah.
how awesome would it be to raid? Team raids are so much fun. Like I raid with Mario After Party and a couple other people all the time, and it is tremendously fun. Also, low key, I'm that dude that like also attacks his teammates with like teams,
Earthquake.
like not just Earthquake, but I'll use like Toxic Wave. And
Yeah.
and poison my teammates.
I run my Toxtricity as choice, and I have Toxic Wave, Sludge Wave is what it is, and
Yeah,
Boom
Sludge
Burst.
Yes.
And I click them. Just like, oh yeah, I need to use this move.
Yeah, I mean, why would
Choice
you
into it as well, which is the worst.
limit Toxtricity? Why would you like take away its best attacks? Unless you intend on Gigantamaxing it within the course of that raid. Like, I'm gonna use those moves. So it would behoove you to pick a steel type Pokemon if you see me picking Toxtricity.
But I just the fact that I'm just scarfed into it, and I didn't like think that through. I just so impulse, and then just everyone yells at me.
Actually, I'm also that guy that will attack his teammates just because they're not contributing properly to the raid.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I do that in multi battles a lot, where like some guy just like it's all 3 people, they're bringing the other stuff, and then one guy just has a Darkrai. He's on my team. I'll just drain punch him or something. Close combat.
Like I have done that just because like I had a teammate that was not contributing properly to the raid. Like they kept doing like one of them actually healed the raid Pokemon.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
So I was like,
Jeez.
nope, I'm not gonna play with you, and I just OHKO'd him. I was like, I'm done. Yeah, you're done. Get out of here. And I was like, I'm gonna keep attacking you until this raid's over. I don't care. This is my raid. I'll lose. I can restart this raid. But yeah, I'm that guy. But the Crown Tundra, the Isle of Armor, 2 new expansion passes coming out. What are we thinking? We know about the June release. What do you think? November, December for the Crown Tundra's DLC release?
It's supposed to be autumn, right? So I'm guessing.
Yeah, fall.
I don't know, October, November. I don't think they're gonna.
Well, you got to remember with
December.
Nintendo likes to like use like very specific dates. So they're like, if they like winter technically starts in like December,
Right.
like so, and it's like I could see them like this is still fall. Like remember when Splatoon came out in like May and they were like advertising a spring release for it, and they're like For us in the West, we think of May, it's summer. Nintendo's like, yeah, technically, like the calendar still says spring, so it's a spring release.
I always thought of May as spring. I don't know what you're talking about.
When school gets out for summer vacation, that's summer. I got out of school in May every year.
I always got out late May.
Still summer. So yeah, May.
Come on.
I think of May, I think summer. But yeah, so like they're gonna have like a very specific date. I can see this dropping in like late November to like mid-December. I feel like that's such a long time. Like this is basically what happened with Breath of the Wild. But you know what? As much as I like the Breath of the Wild, Champions Ballad DLC, by the time it came out, I had totally forgotten how to play Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah, that happens. That's the thing.
Like I had to relearn to play, and I had to relearn to play with that stupid one-hit death mission.
Yeah, that happens. That's the thing.
I mean, at least, so I don't know of anyone who who forgets how to play Pokemon. You might forget your type matchups. That's like it. You can't forget how to play Pokemon.
All right.
You forget type matchups, and that's it.
True. All right, before we move on, I do want to talk about that they briefly did mention Pokemon Home during this direct.
Right.
It was very much in passing and no real details about how it will function, just that the expansion pass, if you have, if you get the expansion pass, we did discuss that we haven't discussed this yet. So actually, let's take a step back. There were Pokemon shown in the direct that weren't given any like official like reports on. So we do know about 2 new Gigantamax Pokemon, 3 new Galarian forms, and then 200 Pokemon from previous generations will be available through this DLC. Starting with the Gigantamax Pokemon, we have the G-Max Venusaur and the G-Max Blastoise. I really, really love the design of G-Max Venusaur.
Yeah, I do too. The bowl cut. Ooh.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I gotta admit.
And then G-Max Blastoise looks all right, but
he's a fortress.
Compared to the other 2 G-Max forms, I feel like it got underserved.
Yeah.
Now we haven't. We all know what these are, but they never really. We don't know what their confirmed names are. So we have Galarian Zapdos, Galarian Moltres, and Galarian Articuno. And goddamn, Galarian Moltres looks freaking amazing. That purple and black and what is it like red motif?
Yeah.
Man, I was always a Zapdos guy, but they made Zapdos into an emu,
a Roadrunner.
Yeah. Oh yeah, kind of. Yeah, like a Roadrunner.
Meep.
I figured more like an ostrich or an emu, but I could see
like I'm nicknaming mine Meep because he's Roadrunner.
That's funny.
Yeah. I was always a Zapdos guy, but looking at Galarian Moltres, I'm like, it looks amazing, and Galarian Articuno, still the worst design of the 3.
I mean, to be fair though, like that's a pretty high bar. Objectively speaking, they all look pretty good, I'd say.
I always kind of disliked Moltres. As a kid, I loved Moltres because Firebird. What's cooler than that? But when you grow up, it's just naked. It's like naked that lets in fire. Like I couldn't unsee that, and it's just a rubber chicken that has some flaming. Like it just looks like a rubber chicken.
See, I was
fire. I get it.
For me, Articuno was the worst designed bird. It just looked like a regular bird in comparison to the other 2.
I mean, yeah, but it looks like majestic at least, not like a rubber chicken.
Yeah, right.
But Zapdos was top tier, yeah, for sure. I do want to sort of discuss what we think the typings for them will be.
Oh, they're definitely dual type. I could see Moltres being Fire Dark.
But then, is it still flying type? Because it's a bird, right?
I don't think they need the 3rd typing. I mean,
all right, maybe they'll still have levitate as an ability.
That could be neat. But I definitely with that color scheme, if it's not a fire type, I'd be like. I'm sorry, I'm not a dark type. I'd be really shocked.
I could see it as dragon.
Or maybe ghost.
Maybe. But I feel like it would have like blue flames for like Will-O-the-Wisp, which would be cooler anyways. You know?
Zapdos doesn't look that much different than a standard electric Pokemon, so
I think it could be, since it's grounded, an electric ground type, or it could be a fighting type, since it's kind of like it could kick. Like that's a kick Pokemon,
Galarian Articuno is definitely going to be psychic typing.
I could see the steel types, like either psychic or steel.
Just the way its face looks to me.
Yeah, it's like got a Terminator mask or something, which is could be psychic. Like, it looks very psychic, but then also the way its wings look and the attacks, it was using kind of like maybe steel. Like, it's throwing out iron feathers or something. So,
See, I'm looking at pictures of them right now.
Yeah, I gotta bring those up because I'm trying to remember them.
Before we skip to, I think we're just going to talk about the additional 200 Pokemon. There's also the 2 new Reggies.
Yeah, the Reggie Shock and the Reggie Nothing ? We don't know.
It looks like a dragon. It
looks like they beat up a Cubone and stole his dead mother's mask.
Yeah, I think because it looks like a Charizard head specifically to me, sideways. But the color scheme kind of makes me think, oh, it's a dark type. So I can see it's either a dark Reggie or a dragon Reggie, and there's obviously electric Reggie. So
yeah, so we did see we have no real pertinent information on any of these. I really wish they
exist.
I really wish we knew more.
I find it really odd how they keep adding more Reggies. Like, the first 3, oh, no, that makes sense. And then Gigas was like, oh, well, I guess that's cool. I didn't quite understand the lore for Regigigas ever. And then also why he came like a game late. And now,
yeah, I never
5
understood.
generations later, 2 more that just don't seem to fit with the Reggie motif of being big and dense. Like, Plasma's not big and dense. And why the fuck is there just a sideways dragon head? Like, I don't understand anymore. That's cool they exist, but I don't understand them.
True that. Oh man, I'm looking at the Galarian Moltres right now. It is definitely Fire Dark. There's no way that it's not Dark typing. Anyhow, so now we can talk about when they showed off these Pokemon. Even though they didn't discuss them, they also said that the 200 Pokemon from previous generations would be available throughout the course of the expansion pass.
Slowpoke!
And that you could only catch them if you have the expansion pass. But you could trade them to people if they do not have the expansion pass, or if you have Pokemon Let's Go or one of the other Pokemon games that will be, or however they decide to make Pokemon Bank connect to Pokemon Home, you will be able to transfer them to Pokemon Home and then bring them into Pokemon Sword or Pokemon Shield. So you don't necessarily have to get the DLC if you don't want it, but it's there as an option. And that's how they discussed how Pokemon Home's functionality would work. And then they did briefly say that Pokemon Home would be launching in February of this year, but no other information. Not its functionality, not a specific release date, no nothing.
Upset a bunch of red flags to me.
I'm a little upset that they said nothing, and I can totally see the red flag argument. Yeah.
If you're not showing us anything from it so far, I'm like, I don't think it's ready. Like, Pokemon Bank had a lot of issues at launch, and you cannot have that for Pokemon Home after the whole Sword and Shield debacle to begin with.
Well, that brings me to our next point, is the price point for this DLC is $29.99, $30. You're going to need one expansion per game. So if you have both games and you want to buy the DLC, you will have to buy
$60.
Yeah, you'll be paying essentially for a whole new game. Now, if you have both copies of the game, do you really need both copies of the game? Because it's not really the series was not really designed for people to buy both copies of the game. It's like
your friend, yeah.
Make some friends and trade, and
don't shame me.
Now you have the online functionality, which makes trading even easier. We've had that since Gen 4, that online capabilities to trade Pokemon. I'm not trying to shame anybody. I'm just trying to state the design intention is that people will only buy one version of the game and
then trade. I know. Don't shame me.
I'll do it. Shame. Spend your money better.
So yeah, you will have to buy it twice if you want it. And now the argument I've been hearing, which I think is that you're locking Pokemon behind a paywall. Absolutely not. That is completely false. If you have these Pokemon in previous generations, and you trade them to Pokemon, or you send them to Pokemon Home, these Pokemon are accessible through transferring or trading. They are not locking it. They actually updated the game. What is it? The day of the direct to include these Pokemon's data and make it so that when the DLC does launch, you will be able to trade with your friends and whatnot. So the argument is false, wrong. You can't make that argument. They're not truly locking Pokemon behind a paywall. By the time the DLC comes out, you'll be able to trade or transfer these Pokemon into your game via Pokemon Home. Now, if you haven't done your due diligence in previous generations to catch the Pokemon that will be accessible in the expansion pass, I put that on you, the gamer.
Okay, so here's food for thought with that kind of argument, though. Let's say for some bizarre reason, no one in the entire world buys the DLC. So then the only way to get these Pokemon is to transfer them in through Pokemon Home, which we might not know. It could be a paid service. So in that instance, it could just still be a paywall. The only way to obtain them is to either trade them from the people or to breed them down. So someone has to spend that money. In order for other people to get it, they have to spend that money. And if you want someone else, you have to either know someone or get lucky with some trades, and that's not accessible for people that maybe don't have internet or don't live near other players or whatever.
See, the internet argument, I find it hard to justify the internet argument.
Oh no, like in this day and age, yeah.
In 2020, it is damn near impossible to go anywhere that doesn't have some form of accessible internet for a person. And the Switch consumes so very little processing power from the internet that
there are still people.
Yes, I'm going to use the Blizzard Activision debacle with Diablo. Don't you guys have phones?
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to use that line. Don't you guys have phones? No.
Yeah, Tether. Tether. I know people who ride the bus and use the bus internet to play their Switches when they're out and about. Like, you can go to McDonald's. McDonald's has free Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. Starbucks, free Wi-Fi. Like Barnes and Noble, free Wi-Fi.
Like, I understand that. It's just that still, like, the principle of it, there's no real way, and even once you obtain them, you didn't get it yourself. The only way to get it yourself is to breed it down. You can't just catch it, which I feel like is part of the joy of Pokemon, is actually catching the Pokemon.
See, but at this point, there were so many complaints about just having a complete Pokedex. Mm-hmm. How did you get your Pokemon in previous generations? You trade them down
from Gen 4 up. It's pretty much transferring.
Yeah. So this fundamentally doesn't change or alter that entirely.
Yeah.
Like that, it stays the same. You're really not doing.
But there's still some one that can't come over. Period.
Yeah, there's still going to be that.
People are upset about.
Yeah, but to get these new Pokemon, like this paywall argument, you're either going to transfer them over, or you're going to trade for them. And that really doesn't change fundamentally how the game is played from how it's been played in different generations since Gen 4. I feel like if you do pay for the DLC, you actually get the superior experience in this. You can catch them, which is the more fun, accessible way. Now, I do think that the DLC I think the price point is a little high. Even Breath of the Wild's DLC was only $20, and Smash DLC, you have the option to a la carte it. And now I know, like, you'll end up paying more for Smash DLC than you will for any other DLC, but it's that sense of gratification, that where, like, if you spend $1 here or $5 here, you feel like a sense of gratification, like it sets off the endorphins in the brain. So therefore, those purchases don't feel like you tend to feel less bad about those smaller purchases versus, oh, well, here's $30 all at once. Those are the purchases you have like buyer's remorse with, is when you make a larger purchase all at once. And I can see buyer's remorse really setting in the interim while you wait for that second half of the DLC.
I do want to sort of go back to the transferring Pokemon argument. Aside from just the whole paywall thing, the thing that just bugs me personally is at least Pokemon were ready to be in the game. They had the models, they had the animations, they had the moves, and less than a year later, they're ready to go. 200 of them, whatever. That's that they could have put them into start.
I actually think this has always been. I've heard a lot of people say that this is in response to Backlash. I actually think this has always been the plan.
This has definitely always been the plan, and that's the thing that bugs me is that we didn't have the models or animations. No, you did. They're here right now, and you just proved it. That's what bugs me. So that's all I wanted to get off my chest.
I can see that. I can see people being upset by like, hey, why do it like this? But at the same time, how do you justify this content without
you can't justify it at all? Yeah.
Like without adding the 200 Pokemon, can you really justify the content in its entirety, especially the price point? Like, I think these expansions are cool, and I'm definitely going to drop the $30 to get the expansions.
Yeah, I'm dropping the $30. I think as far as DLC goes, when you had mentioned it in your predictions, you should have just said just be a campaign, an extra campaign as the DLC, and that just doesn't seem like worth $30 to me.
Well, yeah. When I was just saying campaign, I wasn't envisioning a $30 price point. Yeah, I was thinking more of a $15 to $20 price.
That's what I was thinking, or even less for the national story.
And that's exactly what it is. Like right now, it's like it technically is additional campaign. With the caveat that we're going to expand the wild area. We're going to add new Pokemon, new forms. We're going to add new legendaries, and we're going to bring over 200 plus Pokemon. I think when you look at the whole package, it is a little bit more justifiable. I just still think that $30 is, that's half the game. That's essentially half the game. Will this content be big enough to say like this is half a game's extra worth of content? And is this just the first expansion release that you're going to do? Is this something that we should be expecting?
They might have 4 total or something. Yeah.
And I think it's a fair point. Like in terms of content, it has to be worth half the game. And so if this thing is going to provide me at least 10 hours of entertainment, then I'd say it's probably half the game right there.
So from my perspective, so I forgot my train of thought. Oh yeah, so going back to that, if it's just the campaign, it's not worth it. But they're sort of getting like content from everywhere. Like everything is just getting more. We're getting more Pokemon, more clothing items, more areas to explore, a couple new modes, etc. And I think that makes it kind of worth it, just in terms of like on paper. On paper that sounds like it's worth it.
Yeah,
especially when it's $30 for both. When you think of it, sure, there's the waiting period, but you're getting not just one wild area and 100 Pokemon. It's another 200 Pokemon and a second new area and a whole new call-up mode. That sounds like kind of worth it right there.
Yeah. Because wait, hold on. Let's back up real quick because I'm getting mixed messaging here. From what I understood when I saw the video, you pay $30 and you get both Tundra and armor.
Yes.
That's what I heard.
Yes, okay. That's correct.
Okay, cool. Because to me, you're getting both of those zones. That's not $30 isn't a bad price point, I don't think.
Yeah, if they're the same size as the current wild area, I think that's fine.
Right. And depending on how much actual story and other content is there, I think that's probably fine.
Now, my other question is if they had split the difference between the two, 15 per region, would that upset people as much as the $30 price tag? You still essentially pay the exact same price, but doing it separately. So one of my biggest regrets about the Breath of the Wild expansion pass was I did not care for the DLC, the expansion pass 1. Like it added the hard mode, which and the map
part of just a free update.
Nope.
Really?
Nope. Nope. You had to get the hard mode. You had to pay for the hard mode, and it also gave you the hero's path, which if you watch your map, it shows you.
Yeah, what you've
Either-
been. That's
You
right.
could, well,
Yeah.
in real time, or you could watch it like hyperlapsed, and you can
Mhm.
see if you've actually explored 100% of the map of Breath of the Wild. Which all that stuff is neat, but that first half of it also added the sword challenge where the
Yeah.
gauntlet mode where you could
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Beginner
one.
training.
yeah. So those three things were the first DLC expansion. I found that all to be subpar, specifically because previous Zelda games, that third quest, that hard difficulty, standard. That gauntlet mode, standard in Twilight Princess. And that map, the hero's path that just shows you where you've been and how long it took.
That's
should
just
have
a
been
quality
free.
of life feature.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All those things, all those features, two of them standard in other Zelda games. The third shouldn't have cost me jack shit.
All right. That's fair.
I paid $20, which the breakdown of that would be 10 for this DLC, 10 for that DLC. And I know Mario After Party hates it when I make this argument because he's like, no, it's all one. But no, essentially when you release them, to me, it's like if you release them separately with that much time apart, the way that math breaks down, you're telling me this content is worth $10 and this content separately is worth $10. And yes, is that first part of is that DLC, that first $10 that I would have spent on Breath of the Wild, I wouldn't have paid for that. I wouldn't have paid for that DLC personally.
Mhm.
I would not pay for the hard mode. I would not pay for the awakening of the Master Sword, and I wouldn't pay for that Hero's Path. I would not have paid for that. You made me pay for that because I wanted the story content that the second half of the DLC provided me with. This is a little bit different because I feel like you're getting story content in both expansion passes, but I feel like if you charge me $15 to let me, for the first DLC, and then I could determine, oh, this is really good content, or this is not great content, and I don't have to purchase the Crown Tundra if I don't want it, because I now know that I didn't enjoy the content that you provided me with in the first go round of DLC, and they're not, from what they've shown, they're not too dissimilar in how they will function, with the exception of the co-op raids.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if Nintendo had broke it down into two separate DLCs with two separate price points, you can still charge $30, but the $15 price point allows a player to determine whether or not this content is truly worth it. I feel like there'd be less backlash to the DLC, the expansion pass, if they had done it like that. Personally, like I said, it's because people, it's just the way retail works. People feel less buyer's remorse when they pay less for something, but when they have to pay up front for something, especially if something that they can't have access to, they immediately have buyer's remorse. And now I know a bunch of people who will not pre-purchase this content because first off, they have to wait for both parts. We're waiting for June for the first part, but they won't pre-purchase it until the second part. I know people that will not make the purchase until both are available. Because like, if I'm going to pay for it, I want access to it all. And personally, in most things in life, that's me. Unless I can have all the content immediately, I will not buy it. But for this, it's a little bit different because I know all my friends are going to purchase this, and I'm going to want to play with them immediately. But I will not pre-purchase this content until a week out. When we have a very specific release date, a week before that date is when I will make that purchase. But again, if I had the option, I would spend the $15 to buy the first part and make the determination of whether or not it's truly riveting content for me to make that second purchase.
So I do also want to talk about how this is in place of, so normally in a generation of Pokemon, you get Pokemon Sun and Moon and Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and you get these secondary versions of the same game. These DLCs are in place of those versions. So we are not getting Sun or Sword 2 and Shield 2 or Ultra Shield, Ultra Sword. These are what we're getting in place of it, which I think is kind of cool. I think this is a natural evolution for that system because buying the ultimate version or the deluxe, the third, whatever, is outdated. Like Sims used to do that kind of, and that's just annoying. I hate it. So this is cool. I only have to buy the games once, and then I buy expansions to get the full game, quote unquote. And I think that's cool. If you compare it to the 3DS game era, in the 3DS era, you would pay $40 for Pokemon Sword or for Pokemon Sun, let's say. If you want both, you pay $80. Now then, 2 years later, whatever, the deluxe version, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, come out. $40 for each of those as well. So while base games, they are $40 each, but for the whole entire second game, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, it's another $40, which is $10 less than these expansions for both of the expansions together.
I agree with what you're saying as far as the third tier game, the enhanced version of being antiquated. I do like the fact that this is a continuation of the current adventure that you were going on in Pokemon Sword or Pokemon Shield. Also, if it's getting harder to justify the third iteration of the game. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are by far the worst expanded editions that they have ever made. They added so very little to the third tier experience. Like Black and White 2 was a significant.
They were sequels.
Yeah, they were
fantastic direction to take it. Yeah,
right.
And they were significant. Pokemon Platinum, a significant third iteration, adding the
whole underworld.
I wanted to call it the Upside Down.
The negative dimension. I don't know.
I want to call it the Upside Down. I'm thinking about Stranger Things.
Pokemon Hell.
Pokemon Yellow completely changed.
It remixed Gen 1 basically
and
to
made
fit
it
the anime.
More similar to the anime.
Crystal was the exact same game though, but they had a couple new things.
As a female.
Yeah, that's like the big thing. And they changed breeding mechanics ever so slightly.
Well, also, Crystal had the functions that it could connect to the internet if you lived in Japan. By connecting it to a cell phone.
Right, yeah. And to be fair, we didn't get that here, but from a more objective standpoint, that was pretty big for fucking 1999. Yeah. So that's a big deal.
Yeah.
But that didn't change the core game as much.
No, but if you look at Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I enjoy them. I enjoy them, but as far as content that they added to the series, they did so very little to improve upon that generation. The difficulty wasn't increased. I felt like Black and White 2 were a little bit harder than Black and White 1.
Oh yeah. No, I agree with that. Black and White 2 felt like a new experience from Black and White 1.
Yeah, and dude, they changed half the gym leaders in Black and White 2.
Right. It definitely felt like a different game.
So it's weird to see, and I don't know if it's because the design team was the younger staff at Game Freak who did Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. It was clearly the B team that worked on that game. They stated as much. I hate to call them the B team, but that's what you guys are. You're the B team. While the A team was working on this game, you were working on that game.
So one thing you mentioned with the whole B team also that I kind of do like with the DLC approach is that the B team is making the DLC. And the main guys are working on the next Pokemon.
See, and I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a great, smart way to do it.
Yeah, give them smaller projects for them to work on that build upon what's pre-existing.
Yes.
This is all the stuff that we're seeing in these expansion passes are building upon things that exist within the core of the game itself.
Yeah.
And now we don't need a third iteration to tell that. And let them do a smaller project like that.
Yeah,
it takes away less resources because they get to use the resources that are available to them currently. It's not going to cost them too much to build it. And it takes your primary designers and lets them focus on
the new stuff,
on new content.
Yes, I love this approach. Yeah, and when you think about Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, those honestly could have just been DLC for all they've added in. We got a couple new Ultra Beasts, which could have been put into a new, different Ultra Beast campaign that could have built upon how the Ultra Beast campaign ended in the first game. And you had 2 new areas, like a Pikachu Palace or something, Meadow, and some other place. And it's okay, well, You could have just added those like whole 2 new wild areas.
Well,
like
you
they're
know,
doing now.
and that's what kind of upset me about the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is I had when they announced those games, I was anticipating the exact treatment that Black and White got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they gave them 2 different versions instead of Emerald or Platinum. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like you gave me expectations that were not fulfilled, and it may not have been your intention to give me those expectations, but you've only done 2 versions of a game simultaneously coming out once before, Black and White and Black and White 2.
And you could make the argument that Omega Alpha Sapphire were Gen 6's version, but those were just entire remakes, and so I think those also count with the same expectations.
Right.
Well, you know, so like I'm sitting here from my perspective, I'm like, what changes am I going to see to the Alola region? In my mind, I thought time was going to pass, and there were like the gym leader the challenges would. I'm sorry, the trials would have become gym leaders. No more gym leaders, because there would have been some kind of evolution. But no,
there's an official Pokemon League now.
Yeah.
So now they have to have gyms, right?
Right. Yeah. 100%.
But they didn't do that. It's the same story.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing has really changed.
Necrozma's more important.
Yeah,
which he just felt so out of place in the first one.
And see, you know, that's where I stand from in that entire like third game or whatever. Is I don't think Ultra Sun and Moon should have even existed. I think it was a shitty cash grab that was built upon a shitty Pokemon title.
Honestly, because the worst part about Sun and Moon was that the base games felt sort of incomplete with the whole, well, what does Necrozma do? And like, it just like something with X and Y, honestly, like why is we still have answers to the Zygarde, which were supposed to be answered in Sun and Moon. And it's like,
well,
everything just felt incomplete about Gen 6 and Gen 7. And other games didn't even fix up.
With X and Y, you could clearly see that they were building a Z that never came to fruition.
Yeah, right. But I mean, even still, I felt like X and Y had a better overall package than Sun and Moon. In fucking Sun and Moon, you get to the end, and the fucking gym or trial person's like, oh, I'm busy right now doing my dumb artist bullshit. So here, just take the badge. Let me get
like they really just kind of dropped the ball at the end, and they never really gave it closure either. And that was what really fucked me up.
You know what keeps bothering me is that she keeps showing up in other Pokemon games.
She's in Let's Go. Yeah,
she's in the Let's Go games, which bothers me. I mean, she's younger, but she shows up in those games, which infuriates me. You know, but like to be fair to Sun and Moon, I enjoyed them. When they first released. It's only in hindsight that I can pick apart like the challenges of that game and the flaws. Like looking back on it, 3 years later, I'm like, these are the things that I dislike about the generation, and here are the things that I do like. I do like the trial captains. The trial captains were great.
Olivia, my heart.
Except for one. But yeah, I mean, aside from all that, going back to removing the third tier, it's needed to happen for a little while, and maybe they might have come to that realization when they didn't drop Pokemon Z, or whatever they were working on that would have serviced as a third tier for X and Y, and clearly, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon showcased that like, if you're not going to put the proper effort into making the third game, that you need to unilaterally move into a new direction. Like, and that's what this DLC is really highlighting. Here's a new direction with utilizing the new technologies available to us on a system like the Switch. DLC much harder on the 3DS. Can we all agree about that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like
it existed, but it was just not accessible.
Well, because the file restrictions that Nintendo had with the DS and the 3DS probably would have been a nightmare to expand upon it. Plus, everything getting saved to the cartridge instead of getting saved to the base system itself. Yeah. DLC probably a physical nightmare, because you have to admit, especially with games like Pokemon Sun and Moon and X and Y, which were clearly pushing the boundaries of what the 3DS could do. Like 3D was so taxing on Pokemon X and Y.
Oh yeah.
There is no 3D in Sun and Moon. And with that extra space that they gained from not doing 3D, they fill to the brim in Sun and Moon. And then for some reason, even that's taxing because the frame rate issues and the way Sun and Moon play they're pretty bad. Like, so and it comes down to compression. Game Freak has terrible compression techniques, and building 5 different character models for Lily every time she shows up in a new area is pretty asinine.
So I've talked about the thing before, but also the whole frame rate shit, especially in battle, ticks me off now more than ever, because the reason why a lot of the bigger models of Pokemon lagged the game was because they were made future-proofed with more polygons than they needed on the 3DS, so that when they jumped to the Switch, they could be there. And then they didn't fucking use them because they cut half of them.
Yeah,
and it's like, why did I suffer through bad frame rates in the Sun and Moon? If you're not gonna do that shit.
Yeah, I could have just told you, just don't bother to suffer through Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. It would have saved you an entire generation because they were bad. That's
kind of what I just ended up doing. And it's tragic. But because it would make sense if they made the models properly so they'd work on the 3DS, right? And then made the models and then said, hey, we can't make this many models. Sorry. That's understandable then. I get it. But I don't know. I'm back on my bullshit. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Like this is what we do. Now, again, I do like to reiterate, I do like the fact that they're with this expansion pass set, they are removing the necessity for third tier and having a more complete experience in a single title is far more appealing to me than the third tier. Will I miss the third tier stuff? Yes, because that means by doing this, you are now removing the annualization that Pokemon has come to experience. We have not completely, but we've almost annualized Pokemon releases in some way. There's always main game, followed by remake game, followed by third tier game, right? Which is the enhanced version of the current generation. So by doing that, they've managed to annualize them to an extent. Mm-hmm. By doing expansion passes, we remove the annualization of Pokemon. So we're going to be heavily relying on the expansion passes and the remake game to really carry a whole lot of extra weight. So that makes me think that these DLCs have to be fairly expensive to justify removing a whole extra form of money making.
Yeah.
Because what's a 3DS game cost? Between $30 and $40, right?
$40, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Usually 40, but I thought some of them
Pokemon
were upwards at
40.
50 towards the end of the life cycle, weren't they?
Pokemon games were just straight 40 at retail. MSRP was 40.
So they're actually not taking too much of a loss to release $30 DLC. Mm-hmm. Right? So financially, they should be able to run similarly as to how they are now and gain profit by doing the DLC instead of releasing a whole new third tier game.
Mm-hmm. And the game is $20 more base than it was back then as well. So also think about that.
Exactly. So they're not only are they breaking even, but they're profiting an extra 10 when all is said and done.
The big thing that I see from this, though, is that as DLC, you can't market it as well. And holidays, the Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon came out. Parents will buy that for their children.
Disagree. I disagree with that argument. When Splatoon 1, Splatoon 1 unveiled its August update, they had TV commercials for the August update.
Yeah. But it's a lot harder to market. They're still going to market the shit out of this. But it's a whole lot harder for a kid or even a parent to ask for a non-tangible.
True.
You can't ask for that update, but it exists.
It's funny, too, because I remember it was when that commercial came on, I was watching The Walking Dead, and the Splatoon August update commercial.
That's polar opposites.
You know,
That
I don't
clashes.
know. I have to disagree with that from some standpoint, and this is just speculation because I don't have a kid. I don't have any kids that I know of. First of all, but
Okay,
they're not.
that's good.
Yeah, but
I'm sure
part
your
of
wife
me
appreciates
wonder.
that.
Yeah, she does. Right? Yeah.
She
Oh,
has
that'd be
to.
terrible if like next year, Papa. I'd be like, what the fuck? Anyway. Woo!
Continue.
Part of me suspects that the youth of this generation
Is
is
expecting
actually
healthy
more
things.
receptive to
Mhm.
digital shit because
Yeah,
this is
for
what I mean.
sure.
They've been playing Fortnite for years. What's the biggest seller in Fortnite? Skins.
V-Bucks.
There
Yeah.
are kids who are like, hey,
Mhm.
mom, dad, can I have 20, 30 bucks so I can buy these shitty Fortnite skins? And the parents are like, sure, that's your like birthday present or
Mhm.
whatever. So part of me kind of wonders if the modern generation of kids is just more accustomed to
They are
things
for
kind of
sure.
like a gift. So
But
I don't know.
So
I
under
don't
that argument, does that mean this is for the Pokemon Company, for Game Freak, and for Nintendo? Does that mean that an expansion pass over a third tier game is this the right call for them to make in 2020?
Oh yeah, I
So-
think so 100%. Partially because I think that there are fans like me that are burnt that did get burned from the debacle that was Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. If they had released an Ultra Sword and Ultra Shield, I would not have purchased it because Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon were so fucking bad. They were terrible. And that is the hill that I'm going to die on. I didn't even finish the game. I put in like 4 hours because that's usually my litmus test, 4 to 5 hours of any game. And I didn't. I was like, I'm done. There is nothing different in here.
I stopped at the 6th gym.
You got further than I did.
I stopped at like Route 1. I got to the first city. I was like, no, it's so bad. But so I think that the new generation are accustomed to it, but they're the first of their kind.
Right.
And only like the first handful that are older enough, like that have their jobs, their beginner jobs, can purchase this themselves. So I going back to that very Fortnite example, I'll be in GameStop just grabbing things at GameStop, and I hear parents, my kid wants some V-Bucks. How do I get V-Bucks? And parents, the ones who are buying these, don't know how to purchase them.
Right.
I think it's easier if they have like a card, like the Octo expansion. You can go to GameStop and buy a little physical card that has a download code for it. And that's great. V-Bucks are the exact same way. But if Pokemon will have that probably, but
they probably will.
Yet.
Yeah.
They probably will. If they don't, that's fucked. Because then they're losing those parents. But it's a whole lot easier for a parent to just, Christmas shopping. I know my kid likes Pokemon. They see the newest one on the shelf with the actual, like, not the cards. That, like, they understand I buy this game. That
Right,
makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I think from, like, the old person who buying for their kids, it's still bad. And it's still just harder to market a tangible. And something that's not tangible. You can still market it. People still understand it. But it's just slightly less. It's just a barrier to entry for obtaining that product.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree.
I think it'll still make the money for sure,
Right.
but it will be a bit harder, especially when like the holiday season approaches. The new Pokemon things are in stores.
Right.
It just draws that better. I feel.
All
No,
right.
I 100% agree.
Mhm.
But I think that demographic you're talking about is also shrinking. They're no
Yeah.
longer mom and dad. They're grandma and grandpa
Yeah.
or great grandma
Oh
and
yeah,
great
like
grandpa.
but this is like the very
So-
first. Like
Right.
Pokemon's Generation 9. Like it'll be for sure. Like this makes sense now. But
Oh yeah.
right now it's like it's the very beginning of that kind of thought process, and still tangibleness I feel like is an issue still.
True that.
But yeah, that's all I
All
have
right.
to say.
So I think that is a good place to go ahead and wrap up. We are officially at the 2-hour mark, and I want to keep these shows around this area because I think it just works better for the format. Anyway, guys, final thoughts on Mystery Dungeon and the expansion pass. Who wants to go first?
They added Slowpoke to the expansion pass, and so I'm already happy about that. Adding new Pokemon, as you know, as weird and upset these people are, it's kind of nice where you can see, that Pokemon's coming back. Yeah, so you get excited about these things. The content all looks great. It's all the content, new outfits, new regions, new whatever. I'm about that. I thought you already know I'm about Mystery Dungeon though. Don't even need to talk about that. I love that. I need to play the demo. Slowpoke, come on, right now. Hatch. But yeah.
All right, Jaden, what are your thoughts?
I mentioned it before. I am a bit curious and bummed out that they're not releasing a new mystery dungeon title, because that's what I honestly would have wanted is a new installment. But I am excited for the fact that we are seeing a mystery dungeon. I was actually wondering about this the other month. Is where is the next mystery dungeon? I kind of want to play mystery dungeon right now. So I'm stoked for that. I think that the expansions are at the right price point, and I think that this is a good direction overall in terms of handling new content this way.
Mhm.
And I look forward to pre-ordering and playing them.
All right, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap this part up. I like the DLC. I know I made a lot of counterpoints. Like I was trying to play a little bit of the contrarian this episode. I was trying to do the devil's advocate,
Mhm.
But personally, I like what the DLC means. I like what it stands for. I like what they're doing with the DLC. The wild area is by far my favorite thing about Pokemon Sword and Shield. If you look at my playtime, I think I'm at around 80 hours. More than half of that time was wild area, and now that I've beaten the game, continues to be wild area because now I am raiding with all my friends, and that's the fun of the game. And I was really skeptical on how raids would work and how they would feel initially, but now it's what I come to the game for. I turn on the game every day, I check the wild area, I do raids, I call Mario After Party, let's do some raids.
What the hell? Why don't you call us?
Because you guys are awake at weird hours, and so am I.
I'm pretty much always awake. So let me go to my home menu real quick. Stop doing Slowpoke stuff. Go into my Sword and Shield playtime real quick.
I don't want to know.
475 hours right now.
Jesus.
About 400 of those are probably in the wild area.
I think you got a shiny problem.
Yeah, I'm only at 80 hours. I'm only at 80 hours, but like I said, more than half of it, at least 60 of it, is just me in the wild area. And I love the fact that you're expanding that not once but twice. So
Right.
And the fact that the whole region will function as wild area. You have complete camera control, all the other content that they're gonna do, the new Galarian forms, all that stuff. Love it. Yes. Ultimately, do I think this is a good price point? Do I think this is good content? Is this the right direction for Pokemon in 2020 and beyond? 100% agree with that. I like this stuff. I want more of it, but I want it to be spaced out. And I kind of hope that this isn't the only expansion pass that they do. Now, that might be like blasphemous to the people who are angry, but if they just keep finding ways to expand upon the wild area with new experiences, I'm all about that.
I'd be down to get a Kalos expansion.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just add Kalos.
Yeah.
I'd be down for Johto or Hoenn as well.
Smaller.
Instead of giving us Gen 4 remakes, give us Gen 4 DLC.
I'd take that. As far as Mystery Dungeon is concerned, I'm a little bit more on the fence with Mystery Dungeon. I do think that Pokemon needs to get away from mobile titles and back into spin-off titles. I think we had a golden age of spin-off titles with Pokemon Conquest, Pokemon Ranger, and
the
Pokemon
DS era was golden.
Yes.
We got Pokemon Dash in that era, so maybe not actually.
No, but I do think they found a nice area for themselves when it came to spin-off games. And I'm gonna throw Pokemon Snap. I'm gonna throw that as part of like spin-off games that I want back. I think we're sorely in need of a spin-off game. That's why I thought Detective Pikachu was the right content when it came out. It's the right content for the right time, and it was a good way to expand upon the Pokemon franchise without watering it down the way that the mobile games do. So while I am happy to see the Mystery Dungeon franchise come back, I am conflicted in the format that is coming back in. Like Jaden said, I would have preferred a new game. Also, I'm not sure how I feel about how the game looks aesthetically right now. I've played the demo twice, and I still feel somewhat conflicted about the art style.
I prefer this in art style and content to Gates to Infinity. If we got another Gates to Infinity as a new title, I'd just be give me the remake of Red Team, So that's where I stand. I feel like I would prefer this than they fuck up a new title.
I can see that, but like I prefer the sprite work of the
Yeah,
DS and the
sprites
Game Boy
were
Advance.
cool.
So yeah, I mean, hopefully by the time this game like launches, it'll grow on me because that's the one thing about a remake game. Like, you only do a remake game if it's a proven commodity, and the Mystery Dungeon franchise is a proven commodity, and you can't get away with releasing this game because it is a really good game. It's just going to be about how I visually perceive the game going forward.
Yeah,
but
They
feels
also do like a Dragon Quest, and they have like options to use sprites and the new models.
I would love that.
that would be super legit. That would be really good.
You can sell it to as DLC for it, and I'd still probably buy it.
Yeah, I'd probably spend like $2 or $3 on that easily.
Yeah, just the sprites. The sprite work in that game was so good.
It was really good.
Right.
Now, but with that, guys, let's go ahead and throw out these social media links. You can hit me up on Twitter at nice193. Email me nice193@gmail.com. You can hit me up on Facebook, facebook.com/NintendoPowerZone. If you're a fan of this podcast, you can download new episodes on iTunes, Google Play Music, stream new episodes on Stitcher Radio, and Spotify. But if you want to watch the live version of the show like you're doing right here, right now, youtube.com/NintendoPowerZone. Guys.
All right, you can hit me up at BKingBlues on Twitter. Same thing with my Twitch channel and YouTube at BKingBlues. Blues is always spelled BLOOZ.
You can find me on Twitter or basically any social media thing at Jaden Winsong. That's 90% chance it's probably me. Full transparency, still trying to figure out the YouTube thing. We're still trying to figure out the Discord thing. So again, feel free to chime in on the comments below if there is any other sort of platform that you use that you would like us to move to, or how you'd like to see our Discord kind of develop, if that's something that you guys are interested in. Still trying to check the pulse there, and yeah.
Oh yeah, last but not least, twitch.tv/NintendoPowerZone. I always forget the Twitch. And guys, we'll be back in 2 weeks. I have a plan for the next episode. In case it's a very news light couple of weeks, so you have a plan and a theme. You guys are just gonna have to come back here, check us out to find out what it's about. But I promise you, it's gonna be a really good episode.
It might be not Nintendo, the Cereal Zone. Just saying, or maybe not. You'll have to check. You have to watch us.
Serial Power Zone.
Serial Power Zone. That's what we're doing. Something like that.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
That's the logo I'm making.
You're telling them too much.
All right, but with that,
a little taste of some Fruity Pebbles, you know.
Oh yeah, but with that,
The betrayal, Lucky Charms.
We'll be back in 2 weeks. So as always, guys, remember to stay fresh. All right, deuces.